Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission's regular meeting for October 24th, 2022. This time we'll move to roll call. Commissioner Rasmussen.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Chair Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Knable.
Here.
Commissioner Rasmussen. Here. Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item 3, which is approval of tonight's agenda. Unless there's a motion to amend, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve agenda.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wright. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Fisher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to number 4, which is open forum. So this is a time where anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission on something that is not on tonight's agenda may approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. So at this time, I'll open forum. All right, at this time, I'll close open forum. Item 5 is Chair's explanation of the hearing process. The Planning Commission is a volunteer advisory group to the City Council. One of the Commission's functions is to hold public hearings and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. The purpose of these public hearings is to provide an opportunity for each applicant and citizens to present information, ask questions, and express opinions. Since these proceedings are televised and recorded for the public record, anyone wishing to speak must step up to the podium and give their name and address before addressing the Commission. Staff reports are prepared and provided to the applicant and Planning Commission in advance of the meeting. The first step in the hearing will be for staff to present a summary of the report. The applicant will then have the opportunity to briefly explain the proposal and provide additional information or comments. Anyone wanting to speak in favor or against the proposal will then be heard. Upon completion of the testimony, the hearing will then be closed to the public comment. The Planning Commission will then discuss and act on the matter. 2 complete agenda packets are available for viewing on the back table. Please do not remove those items. The City Council will act on agenda item 6.1, Septic Variance, at their meeting on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, which starts at 7 p.m. And agenda item 6.2, the Capital Improvement Plan 2023 through 2027, will be addressed at their meeting on Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, that starts at 7 p.m. With that, we'll move on to item 6. 6.1 is septic variance at 7540 Laverne Avenue, case V2022-062, with Mike Mrosla presenting.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. There we go. All right. Thank you. The first item on tonight is 7540 Laverne Avenue variance. The subject property is located off of Laverne Avenue in Old Cottage Grove, just to the south of the existing fire station, as shown on the screen. Also shown on the screen is where the proposed septic system will be located. That is requested a variance tonight. A little background, the property does have a single family house on there, a detached garage. The existing system is failing and needs to be abandoned, which is highlighted on red on the screen right there. And that's why the applicant is before us tonight for a variance request. The city does not have a standard for septic systems, but Washington County does. Washington County is the permitting authority. And Washington County Ordinance 206, Section 16.2 requires a minimum 10-foot setback to all property lines. And the applicant has made application with the county has reviewed it, and has approved it pending approval of this variance. The reason for the variance is because this is the only suitable space on the property for the proposed system. And because of that, they do need a little flexibility from the setback to the west property line. The applicant has requested an encroach 3 feet into that. With the standards we have, it does meet all of our variance findings. This is kind of administratively could be approved at the county level. But since this is within our city, we have to approve the variance. The county cannot do that. So they asked us to take a look at this and move forward with this 3-foot encroachment. And that's pretty much my presentation. I'm here for any questions. Recommendations on the screen. The applicant is not present. Again, it's just a 3-foot encroachment to the 10-foot county setback.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I have one question.
Commissioner Rasmussen.
Just curious, if the existing septic is abandoned and removed, what is preventing us from moving that drain field 3 feet closer to the house to maintain setback?
Yes, Commissioner. It's the soils. They can't reuse that site. They have to use them elsewhere on the site. So before they chose location, did soil borings out there. And since there was a system there previously, they cannot put it over that system, is my understanding.
Understood. Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? All right, thanks, Mike. At this time, I'll open public hearing at the application. So anyone wishing to speak for or against the application may step to the podium, state their name and address for the record. All right, at this time, I'll close public comment on the application. Any additional comments or discussion by the commission? If there are none, I'd look for a motion.
I'd motion to approve for the recommendation in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Rasmussen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wright. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. We'll move on to item 6.2, Capital Improvement Plan 2023 to 2027, case CP 2022-061, with Amanda Meyer presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. As mentioned, the next item on the agenda is the 2023 to 2027 capital improvement plan. This is something staff goes through annually to put together kind of our estimation of what's coming in the next 5 years. And then this CIP is really used as a planning document intended to provide an estimate of capital needs and financing. So I apologize, it's a bit of a lengthy presentation. We'll try to move through it as quick as possible. So to begin, public facilities. So you'll see in 2023, starting that utilities division building. So down off of Ideal and 110th Street, we'd be looking to finish up that design, do grading and utilities in 2023. And then in 2024, really finish out the construction of that building. Also in 24, that ice arena dehumidifier replacement. 2025, the radiant heater replacement. And then, excuse me, some internal office remodel at the existing Public Works building. So after that utilities division has moved out of the old building, do some internal office remodel to kind of readjust within that building. Next is new parks and park improvements. So again, a lot on the screen before you. I'm just going to highlight a couple of each bullet point. A couple of bullet points in each year as opposed to run through all of them. So in 2023, to highlight Still Ponds Park development, this is a new, more passive park up in the Hawthorne neighborhood, so that's 65th Street and Geneva Avenue area. And then Mississippi Dunes Park land acquisition, so that's old Mississippi Dunes Golf Course property, looking to acquire the land for a future park construction. You'll see in each year some playground equipment replacement as well as some lighting improvements. So you see that here in 2023 for a variety of parks. And then also Glacier Valley Park building construction. As you've maybe seen, the park has been under construction this year at Ravine Parkway and Keats Avenue. So that building is slated for construction then next year. And then lastly, to note, in 2023, some irrigation replacement at the River Oaks Golf Course. I believe that project is out for bids right now. So the implementation of that would be next year. Then looking into 2024, I want to highlight the Roberts Lake Neighborhood Park and the Military Trailhead. Both of those are newer park areas that would be development driven over by Jamaica Avenue, Military Road, and Ravine Parkway, kind of on either side of Jamaica Avenue. And then the North Point Neighborhood Park, if you recall, for North Point, Building 1 was the furthest west building, and just south of it, the city acquired what we were calling Outlot A for a city park. So that would be the construction of that park. Then noting Oatman Middle School ball fields and parking lot. In 2024, again, some playground equipment replacement, some lighting improvements, those sorts of things in 24. Moving into 2025, we see that construction of the Mississippi Dunes Golf Course Neighborhood Park, really development driven. So we'd like to see a development going with this park. The last phase of the Hamlet Park expansion, so remaining ball fields, parking lot, and sidewalk. And then building replacement at Kingston Park is slated in 2025. Then for 2026, looking at some new parks either in the East Ravine neighborhood, so that'd be east of Keats Avenue, or down off of 110th Street, kind of east of Ideal Avenue. And those, that'd really be development driven. Staff has been hearing some interest in developments in both of these areas, so really, you see that both in 2026 and in 2027. Really just depends on when we see development and where that happens. We just want to make sure that there are parks provided in close proximity to any of those newer developments for those new residents. Moving into street CIP projects. So in 2023, looking to start that East Point Douglas and Jamaica Avenue signal modification and reconstruction project. So after a council workshop looking at the staging for this project, it has been pushed into a 2-year construction. So for 2023 construction, we'd be looking to finish all of Jamaica Avenue and then East Point Douglas kind of through that Burger King access just west of Jamaica, and then east of Jamaica up to that roundabout. And then you'll see the remaining phase in 2024. Also in 2023, looking at a pavement management project, this would be spot curb replacement, full pavement replacement, looking at the Thompson Grove Estates 1st, 6th, 7th, and 10th editions, as well as a frontage road off of 80th, just south of 80th Street. This is an accessible project. Council did authorize a feasibility report, so staff is working through that process right now. Then a development-driven segment of Ravine Parkway, just west of Jamaica Avenue. This Walterstorff property, the development of that would go kind of hand in hand with that Lake Roberts neighborhood park. Again, so just west of Jamaica Avenue, and this is one of those 50-50 cost share projects with a developer. And then South District Street and utility improvements, this project did start in 2022, so we're looking to complete phase 2 of this project in 2023. This project was initiated from some development interest actually south of 105th Street, which is sort of that black east-west road on the south of the image before you. And then also west of where you see that 2022 construction label. We had heard some interest in development, which was really triggering this these improvements. Those developments have since pulled out, but the city has still begun the project, at least with utility installation, knowing that specifically getting trunk sanitary sewer over to the Settlers Bluff development, which is just west of Hadley, is important. If you recall, with the phase 1 of Settlers Bluff, they did install a temporary lift station until such time that we could get trunk sewer over to that area. So still working through this project. We have heard some interest in this area. So as applications are received, the city is still interested in moving forward with phase 2 to finish out this project in 2023. And then last project to highlight for 2023 is really to get into the design of that 100th Street extension. So this is a project we've talked through quite at length as we've worked through some of the industrial development applications coming through, really looking at the traffic in the area and really pushing for this 100th Street extension between Jamaica Avenue and the Keats Avenue Highway 61 interchange. So we have $1.25 million scheduled in 2023 for that design, and you'll see more about this project for the future years. Looking into 2024, as I mentioned, finish out phase 2 of the East Point Jamaica project. So it's really the far west end of East Point Douglas and the far east end of East Point Douglas. Another segment of Ravine Parkway, which would be development driven on the Kemp parcel. If you recall back in 2023, that Walterstorff property, the Kemp property is just west of there. So this kind of connects the Calarosa development through Walterstorff over to Jamaica Avenue. Then the phase 1 for Ravine Parkway shops at Cottage View. So that property is East Point Douglas and Keats Avenue. Phase 1, if you've seen the concepts for that, it was sort of a rounded roadway with a roundabout in the middle. So phase 1 would really be from Walmart to that roundabout, and then we'd see phase 2 and phase 3 later in the CIP. 2024 pavement management, a couple different neighborhoods shown here on the screen before you. River Oaks improvement, so the reduced conflict U-turn. So we actually did receive some funding to implement this project. What this does is it actually eliminates the left turn movements at the River Oaks Golf Course. So if you want to leave the parking lot and head northbound on 61, you actually would take a right turn and get into a U-turn lane. You'd flip a U-turn and then be able to head north on 61. And likewise, if you want to head, if you're heading north on 61 and turn left into the parking lot, you'd go just beyond that access, flip a U-turn, and then turn right into the parking lot. So as mentioned, we did get some funding for that to implement in 2024. Then we have the 80th Street reconstruction from Ideal to 61. And then again, 1.25 as well in 2024 for that 100th Street extension design. Looking into 2025, another pavement management project. Harkness Avenue reconstruction, this really would be development driven. This is a segment of Harkness just east of the 2 apartment buildings that are currently under construction. So as we see more development in that area that would require some access off Harkness, we would look to reconstruct that roadway. Another segment of Ravine Parkway that would be development driven, this actually is east of Keats Avenue, so this would be more in that East Ravine area. And then you see the construction for that 100th Street extension. So I know that 33 million is a large number. That is a cost share, right? So the city pays a portion, the county's paying a portion. There are some grant funds that are being applied for to help fund that project. Then for 2026, 2027, in 26, there is a city cost share for the roundabout at 80th Street and Keats Avenue. Another pavement management project, again, for a couple different neighborhoods in the city. Phase 2 of that Ravine Parkway shops at Cottage View, so that's from the roundabout then out to Keats Avenue, as well as some restriping on Keats Avenue. And then another segment of Ravine Parkway that's development driven, again, east of Keats Avenue. This would be on a tank property. Then in 2027, pavement management, the overpass at West Point Douglas and CASA 19, if there's any necessary bridge reworking, that's slated in 2027. Jamaica Avenue reconstruction, 70th to Military. Excuse me. Jamaica Avenue is a county road, but during the process of the city turning that road up to the county, as part of that agreement, the city did agree to help fund the reconstruction of that roadway. And then phase 3 of Ravine Parkway shops at Cottage View. So that's from the roundabout north to the property line. Another segment of Ravine Parkway on Tank property, again, development driven. And then the reconstruction of the 103rd Street Bridge. So in order to receive some grant funding, we do want to make sure that's in our CIP, that we're planning for it. As we see more interest west of that bridge, really want to look at some realignment of the roadway lanes and the bridge columns and those sorts of things. So that's in 2027. And then lastly, utility CIP projects. So annually, we do some stormwater maintenance. We also have well maintenance annually. Looking to construct the Industrial Park Water Tower in 2023. The Low Zone Water Treatment Plant and Well 13 is scheduled for construction in 2023. That is funded through the 3M settlement. That's down by Ideal Avenue and 110th Street. Then the Intermediate Zone Water Treatment Plant, also funded through the 3M settlement. That's scheduled for 2024. Pine Hill Water Tower painting in 25. And then a couple of wells and some temp treatment plant decommissioning funded through the 3M settlement scheduled in 2026. Sanitary sewer, we do have annual maintenance. And then looking to line a trunk sanitary sewer from Jamaica Avenue down to East Point Douglas through the dog park. This is one of our older lines of sanitary sewer, looking to get that lined in 23. Some annual streetlight improvements. And then the last item is some traffic signals that have been identified. So Hardwood Avenue and Hardwood Court, that's just north of 80th and Hardwood, scheduled in 2023. 80th Street and Jamaica Avenue in 2025. And then Indian Boulevard and Keats Avenue in 2025 as well. And that's really more development driven as we see more interest in those properties east of Keats Avenue. Indian Boulevard had been identified in the county's access management plan for full access. And so that would be one of those main access points to some of those developments on the east side. So just want to plan accordingly for any of those developments and any needs. So with that, I do have a recommendation before you, and I am here for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Britton?
For the Jamaica reconstruction from 70th to military,
Yes.
2027, it's a ways out. Currently, would the plan be to also be constructing the roundabout that will connect up with Pioneer? Or is this just turning what we're doing right now back into the 2 lanes each way?
Yeah, so what we have in our CIP for the cost share is just from military to 70th. I know the county does have in their CIP to construct that roundabout, but as of now, that's not something that we have in our CIP to do any cost share for.
So the stop sign at military would still exist, or would they curve that? They wouldn't curve it yet?
Not yet.
All right, thank you.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Rasmussen?
I just have a comment, I guess, on the River Oaks Highway 61. Feel it's a great project. My kids go to school and daycare, so I'm in and out of there every day. And trying to navigate in and out of there is, I feel it's one of the most dangerous things I do on a daily basis. You're trying to cross the freeway and I mean, the vehicles are going just extremely fast right there. So I'm happy to see that.
Good, thank you.
Any additional comments, questions? Nope. Commissioner Britton?
On that same thing, is there an acceleration lane? I don't know a lot about these no conflict 180s. Is there an acceleration lane that comes with that, or you pretty much have to kind of turn and wait your turn kind of to jump into those 2 lanes?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we do have a sketch of that, which I unfortunately don't have with me, but I'd be happy to send it to you, and if you want to take a look at it and we can talk more about it, I'd be happy to do that.
All right, thank you.
I've seen them both ways.
I'll just note, I think growing up in Michigan, we used to call those Michigan lefts. So you don't turn left, you have to go right to turn left. So that's how I know. But all right, thank you. At this time, we will open public comment on the capital improvement plan presentation. So at this time, anyone wishing to speak for or against anything on there can approach, state their name and address for the record.
Bonnie Matter, 6649 Inskip Avenue South, Cottage Grove. Thank you very much for having this open forum that I can come and ask questions. This is an amended CIP. These are my questions. I believe that this is an amendment to the 2023-2027 CIP. And I'm just wondering why this amendment was required. What specific changes were made to the approved plan? Why are we doing this amendment? And then I'd like to know how the amendment affects the comprehensive plan, because apparently that's why we're having this meeting, because that is what you approve. And one of the things that I didn't quite understand as I read through this amendment was there were a lot of new items that were dollars were being spent for very large items. And I was just wondering how that comes about, because I thought we had a levy that was set for 2023 for sure. And so I don't understand why the changes. I'd like to verify that the River Oaks irrigation system funding sources, it's not on it isn't on the summary list, and I'm assuming and I'd like verification that the $1.85 million is a loan from the Economic Development Authority Trust Fund, and I'd also like to have verification that the $650,000 coming from water conservation, what fund that is, because I can't find that fund. And I guess that's enough to start with. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to get a public answer, not a letter. I'd like a letter too, but I'd like a public answer.
Yep, we're gonna attempt to do what we can tonight.
Thank you. Oh, one other, I'm so sorry. I forgot the most important question.
That's all right.
So we're having a public hearing this evening. And does that mean that if you say this is okay, it will then go on to the city council consent agenda with no further discussion. Thank you.
Sure. I think the answer, I think I can answer that last one. No matter what our recommendation is, it's gonna go to city council. And whether or not it goes on consent agenda is up to staff and, city council, my understanding.
Chair and members of the commission, it will, in fact, go to city council. Planning commission is a recommending body, so their recommendation will go to city council. And I would highly suspect that it would not be on consent, but I don't know for sure. I would have to verify with our city administrator.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the, capital improvement plan? On the capital improvement plan.
CIP.
All right, seeing no more, I will close public forum then. Amanda, I don't know if you have some answers on those items that were brought up. I think the first one, I can probably guess and see if I'm correct on this. This is the first time this year we've seen the capital improvement plan. The planning commission has seen it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, so the reason for the amendment is currently the approved capital improvement plan is from 2022 to 2026, so the amendment is really to update it for the next 5 years. During that amendment, we do look at all 5 years. Obviously, things change over the year. Development if interest changes, it triggers different projects, those sorts of things, funding changes. And so that's really what's triggering the different things that you see. You know, maybe last year during the 2022, 2026 CIP, you saw something slated in 2024, and maybe now you see it in 2025 as things are ever changing. As it relates to the larger dollar amount projects that are seeming new, again, I think part of that really is just what we see with development interest. As we saw more interest in our business park, that's really triggering that 100th Street extension. That's a big dollar amount for us to see. But it is a necessary improvement for those residents, those businesses down in that business park. And likewise, as you know, with park buildings, the construction materials are getting really expensive. Labor is expensive. So, you know, we're just inherently seeing those prices of each project increase as well. So, then as it relates to River Oaks irrigation, unfortunately, I don't have many details on that. I will have to work with our Park and Rec Department director to get more information on that funding and can provide that to you as a commission. I think that was all of the questions.
Sure, and I guess that the couple other ones that I had jotted down
Okay.
were the capital improvement plan in relation to the comprehensive plan. My understanding is this is not an amendment to the comprehensive plan, it is just the capital improvement plan has to be in harmony with the comprehensive plan because that's how we guide everything that happens in the city, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay.
It's ever changing basically, right?
And then the last one was, and I think you had kind of alluded to this, but the higher dollar things that are on there, these numbers of, you know, at least a couple of these projects, tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Part of the reason why we put them on the plan is because they have to be on the capital improvement plan in order to go seek funding for some of these items.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay.
And this really is, it's a planning document. So things that we see from 2024 and beyond, we're planning for those. We're trying to budget for those. We're trying to kind of refine some of those estimates. But at this point, those years really are just planning documents to try and work through the things that we see coming as needs for our city.
Okay. And so would you agree if I said, you know, something that's scheduled for 2026, 2027, you know, it may happen at that time, but it also may get pushed, depending on if funding's there at the time?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Any additional comments or discussion from commission? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the 2023 to 2027 capital improvement plan amendment.
I have a motion from Commissioner Britton. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen. Do I have a further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to item 7, which is approval of the Planning Commission meeting minutes from August 22nd, 2022. Unless there's any additions or corrections, I'd look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Fisher. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Commissioner Rasmussen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8 is reports. 8.1 is a recap of September and October 2022 City Council meetings, and I'll turn it over to Director Costello.
Planning Commission Chair and members of the commission, I'll keep it short. There weren't really any planning commission items that were before council during those months. So with that, I will pass it on to Councilmember Thiede if there is any updates that he would like to give.
Yeah, I guess it said nothing that I could inform you about, but if you have any questions for me or anything, I can certainly answer those. I would mention that, just in agreement with you guys, some of those big numbers on the CIP give me heartburn too when I see them, and I keep getting reminded that, well, it's not all our cost. It's part of it could be Washington County, part of it could be state, could be federal, could be this, that, and so I've actually tried to try to delineate them a little bit, and you can kind of get that on some of the later pages in the CIP. But any other questions you guys may have about anything?
Any comments, questions for Councilmember Thiede?
Thank you.
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay.
Move on to 8.2, response to Planning Commissioner inquiries. We didn't have any from last meeting. 8.3 is Planning Commission requests. Any requests for staff? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 9. And so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Britton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wright. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.